Hey everyone, welcome back. Here's a controversial idea. Batman is not the best fighter in the world. Well, in the DC universe. I say it's controversial. Actually, it's not that controversial because it's been shown numerous times historically in the various comic books that I have read that Batman can be bested. Now, it can be argued that perhaps some of the comics that I've read, Batman has been beaten at a time when he wasn't at his optimal self. So he'd been weakened, he was tired, he'd had a hard day at work, whatever. Other times, however, it's been shown that he's been beaten in his prime, at his best. So it's a shock. It's a shock every time you see this because his costume, the mystery surrounding Batman, it's also mythological that you just can't imagine him getting beaten, right? I mean, he's a guy. This is a guy who stood up to Darkseid, and Darkseid is a new god. So anyway, at times he can take on Darkseid. At times he can get beaten by Mister Rogers from down the road. I mean, comics. This is why I love comic books because everything and anything is possible and impossible at the same time. Anyhow, let's move on and discover the times that Batman has indeed been bested. We begin our journey of discovery with the Deathstroke issue number 7, wherein Deathstroke is after a government witness and Batman intervenes. A fight ensues. Batman seems to be doing pretty well at the start, but very quickly we learn that Deathstroke is no pushover. In fact, probably the superior fighter in this one, as he reminds Batman that he is enhanced, and that as a result of that, he is stronger, faster, a heck of a lot more vicious. And whilst Batman has been trained to fight, Deathstroke has been trained to kill. Now, Deathstroke's ominous words of warning were not in vain because really he's showing here that he's the daddy in this fight. Batman gets a beat down that I think he never expected. I mean, he literally gets his ass handed to him on a plate. I don't think that there's very few panels where I've seen Batman take such a beating, a merciless beating. It's very clear that Deathstroke is the daddy in this fight. The only reason that Batman survived and was not killed outright is because Deathstroke, for some reason, showed a lot of restraint. It doesn't look like he's showing restraint right now, but the fact that he stops himself, a blow short from actually finishing off Batman, it just speaks volumes about the anti-hero character of Deathstroke as opposed to an all-out villain. Look at no doubt in my mind, this was probably one of the most embarrassing moments in Batman's life. The other very major thing to consider here is that this is not a scenario like Nightfall, for example, where you had a number of villains weakening and tiring Batman out prior to his fight with Bane. This is just him in his prime fighting Deathstroke in his, I think Deathstroke's always in his prime, and losing. It's a fair fight. It's a fair fight. There's no reason to suggest that Batman was at a disadvantage. In fact, the fact that initially when the fight started, Deathstroke was leaving the premises. It's Batman who pursued the fight. It's Batman who attacked. So Deathstroke was actually defending himself. A clear indication, a clear example, in fact, of who is the superior fighter in DC, and it is Deathstroke. Next in our journey of embarrassing situations for Batman, we move on to Batman issue 244, where he takes on Ra's al Ghul. And I won't go into the backdrop in this one. I'm just going to let the panels speak for themselves. He is manhandled. He is manhandled by Raz, who basically just throws him around like a rag doll. And, even though Batman's hit him really hard, harder than he's ever hit any man before, it has no effect on Ra's al Ghul. That must be a pretty frightening thing to realize that all your training, all your fight training, weight training, strength training, whatever you want to call it, is to no avail against a man who's clearly much older than you are. Although, of course, the Lazarus Pit does have a lot to do with this enhanced, maddening strength that Ra's al Ghul achieves. at the start of his immersion. And so, yes, you could argue that that played a part. Still, look, it's very clear that that a Ra's al Ghul in his prime versus a Batman in his prime, there's no competition. Sorry, Bats, but the clear winner here is Ra's al Ghul. Next up, we have the Bronze Tiger and Batman's battle with the Bronze Tiger in Detective Comics 485, in which case the Bronze Tiger again bested Batman without too much of a struggle, which is actually not so surprising because I recall seeing somewhere Batman himself admitting that the Bronze Tiger was one of the best fighters out there and actually was a better fighter than Batman himself. So when the Batman is saying that, you know what's going to happen in a fight between him and the Bronze Tiger, and fine, that's fine. It's there's no shame in admitting when someone's better. And as wise people often say, it's not about the winning, it's about the taking part. And Batman never backs down, so that's to his credit. Now, unless I'm mistaken, I recall seeing the Bronze Tiger from the pages of the Suicide Squad back in the 80s. Pretty sure that's where I first discovered him. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I am pretty sure he was affiliated with them. And as I also recall, he had a thing going on with Vixen, another character in the Suicide Squad. Happy memories, happy days. But without digressing too much, it's very clear that the victor in a battle between the Bronze Tiger and the Batman is the Bronze Tiger. At this point, it is of course painful to continue, but continue we must. And so we move on to Detective Comics 575, wherein a younger version of Batman battles a very old guy called Judson Caspian in his guise as the Reaper. Now, I think Caspian at this stage was probably in his late 50s, early 60s, if I'm not mistaken, and Bruce Wayne must have been in his mid to late 20s. I'm pretty sure I've got that right. In any event, there is a significant age gap, and yet the Batman gets ripped to shreds. It's a good battle, and it shows the inexperience of the character at the time. But it also shows that the Reaper is just an excellent character all around, an excellent nemesis to the Batman. I don't think that a spoiler alert is really needed here. I think everybody's familiar with the story. Suffice to say, I mean, my apologies if you're not, but suffice to say that the Reaper eventually loses. But in this issue and in this battle, he basically kicks the Batman's. He kicks Batman all over the place. And after this issue, the Batman is forced to team up with Joe Chill, who of course murdered his parents, in order to take down the Reaper. So, this fight clearly had a very profound effect on the Batman. And he realized that one-on-one, hand-to-hand, he just could not beat this 60-year-old guy called Judson Caspian, also known as the Reaper. Hats off to the Reaper for being the clear winner. And ladies and gentlemen, which list of Batman's defeats would be complete without the now immortalized Bane, Nightfall, the breaking of the Batman's back? I mean, this is legendary. This stuff will be remembered for as long as comics are around, right? It was a big deal. It was a big deal. It's still, I suppose, a big deal. The Nightfall, of course, saga basically entails the tiring out of Batman, this concerted effort to break him down to his bare minimum, his bare bones, and then finally, when he's defeated, mentally, physically, almost on the verge of breaking, Bane enters and then just rips him apart. Of course, I mean, this was probably one of the most significant defeats of Batman's career, no doubt, because it basically sort of put him out of commission for a long time. However, with this fight, and I'm not saying that Bane isn't a very formidable foe and one of the best sort of Batman villains to come out of comics for a long time. I'm not saying that at all. But I will say this, that in this instance, whilst he lost terribly, he was already in a very weakened state. And so one has to wonder that if Venom's first encounter or Batman's first encounter with Venom had been at both their primes, would it have been a draw, or would Batman have been the clear winner? Because Batman has taken on foes stronger than him before many times. Killer Croc, Clayface. I mean, various other foes who are physically superior in terms of strength, but he has come out on top. Here with Bane, of course, and Bane being sort of enhanced through Venom. He didn't stand a chance in his tired, weakened state. So I mean, yeah, a very very bad defeat at the hands of Bane, but it's questionable that if both had been in their prime, would this have been the outcome, or would the outcome have been very very different? So whilst I will admit that yes, Bane is the winner, I would say that the victory is less than complete. Put it that way. Now I have saved the best for last. And the reason I say that is because in Detective Comics 952, Batman faces off against Lady Shiva. And Lady Shiva is someone who is extremely well trained in the martial arts. I mean, she is, I think, pound for pound, actually beyond her poundage, she is probably the best martial art fighter, I think, in the DC universe. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Now, she is half the size of Batman. She's less than half his weight, I'm sure. But she must be one super strong lady, because the way she manhandles Batman here, it's beyond embarrassing. It's I know Ra's al Ghul, I know Bane, I know Bronze Tiger. They've all, there was an element of Batman trying to get some sort of hits in. In this one, I mean, she doesn't even give him the chance to sort of burp. She just comes in, super speed, grabs him, gets him down, and this guy even says like, I mean, like, what is this? I don't think I've seen Batman be so vulnerable in a fight before. So this is very embarrassing, I think, for the Batman. I mean, if this was televised, I think there'd be a lot of red faces. But yeah, Lady Shiva kicks ass big time. If Lady Shiva was on Venom, right, I think she could take down the entirety of Batman's rogues gallery without breaking a sweat. I think that's how good she is, or at least that's how good she's being painted right now in this particular sort of panel. And the funny thing is that there's no indication that Batman is in a weakened state, emotional turmoil, has had some sort of surgery carried out recently. This is prime Batman. Prime Batman being taken out like a little baby. This is wow. So I think it's fair to say, guys, that his most fearsome opponent and his most embarrassing defeat has to be at the hands of Lady Shiva. Even with Deathstroke, where he got almost killed in the process, there was a fight. In this one, there's no fight. There's just like manhandling. That's it. So yeah, there you go. Batman, hailed by many as one of the, if not the greatest fighter in the DC universe, is clearly not. But that doesn't take away from the excitement of the character. I still rate Batman very highly. I think he's one of my favorite characters of all time. Let us not be moved or swayed away from this character just because he's had a few defeats, guys. I think we need to be a little bit more understanding. I think we need to give Batman our support. He has mine, of course, and hopefully, all these defeats that he's suffered by young women who are tiny in comparison will not have a detrimental overall effect in the future. And with that, my rambling is concluded. Thank you so much for your time, as always. Guys, like and subscribe if you will. And even if you don't, listen, thank you so much for your time. Anyone who watches, I really, really appreciate it. I know you guys must be busy, and even if you're just moping around, but you click on it, it's very nice of you. So thank you very much. And I will catch you in the next one.